Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a king who had an enormous shadow. The king was short and stout with a large, protruding belly. But his shadow was tall and thin like a piece of spaghetti. It was longer than he was by more than a foot. Every time the king walked, his long, thin shadow would stretch out behind him, looking like a dark cloud on the ground. At first, this didn't bother the king at all. In fact, he rather liked having such a big shadow. He thought it made him look important and powerful. But then one day, the king was walking through the forest and he saw something that made him stop in his tracks. He looked down at his feet and then up at his shadow, and he realized that the two did not match. His feet were small, round and soft, like the paws of a little kitten, while his shadow was long, thin and sharp, like the beak of an eagle. The king was so surprised to see such a big difference between his body and his shadow that he fell down, flat on his face. "Oh dear," he said, his voice trembling. "What am I going to do? Everyone's going to laugh at me." Just then, a wise old owl flew down from a tree and perched on the king's shoulder. "What seems to be the problem, Your Majesty?" she asked in her deep, soothing voice. The king explained to the owl about his mismatched shadow and how it didn't match his body. "I don't want to go back to the castle now," he said, feeling embarrassed. "I'm afraid people will make fun of me." The owl stayed silent for a moment as she thought about the king's problem. Then she said, "Your Majesty, why don't you just get a new shadow? It's not like you can change your body shape, but you can always find a shadow that matches your feet." The king's eyes widened. "A new shadow? How can I get a new shadow?" The owl smiled. "It's very simple, my dear king. All you have to do is walk backwards for a bit, and you'll soon have a new shadow that matches your feet perfectly." The king couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Walk backwards? How is that going to help?" "Just trust me, Your Majesty," the owl said, and with that she flew away. The king hesitated for a moment, but then he decided to follow the owl's advice. He took a deep breath and started walking backwards, and wouldn't you know it? As he walked, his mismatched shadow slowly started to disappear until it became a small, round and soft shadow, just like the paws of a little kitten. The king couldn't believe his eyes. He had a new shadow that matched his feet perfectly. He was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. From that day on, the king walked backwards everywhere he went. Not only did he have a shadow that matched his feet, but he also learned that sometimes the best solutions to problems are the ones you never would have thought of yourself. And who knows? Maybe if he hadn't had that little mishap in the forest, he might have never discovered his new backwards walking hobby. The end.